Do you like beer?
Do you like podcasts?
Do you like beer podcasts?
Then check out Crackin' One Open, a podcast about brews, news, and pop culture reviews.
Every week, we crack open a new craft beer from breweries around the country.
And sometimes the world.
We'll talk about how it was made, what's in it, the history of the brew, and the brewery.
Then we'll give our tasting notes, and while we're finishing up, we'll talk about some of the latest goings-on in the world of pop culture.
So check out Crackin' One Open with Mike and Elise, part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Hey there, I'm Mr. Black.
And I'm Mr. Green. And we're a couple of guys who met in a comic book store.
Together we host the Pint O' Comics podcast, where we invite listeners to join us to talk about movies, TV, comics, music, or just whatever.
Starting very soon, we'll be joining up with the fine folks at Forgotten Entertainment for a special limited series called On the QT, where we talk Tarantino.
Every week for 10 weeks, a guest will join us to chat about every Quentin Tarantino movie, from Reservoir Dogs to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So join us starting in May 2021.
On the QT is available wherever you download your podcasts and is part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Hello there. I'm Anders.
And I'm Daniel.
Unfortunately, Colleen is off this week, but we're a group of nerds who met through our love of science fiction and fantasy storytelling. Of course, one of our favorites is George Lucas's signature achievement, Star Wars.
And if there's one thing the internet definitely doesn't have enough of, it's nerds talking about Star Wars. So here we are with yet another Star Wars podcast, where every week we journey to a galaxy far, far away to discuss one of the films in the current Star Wars canon.
We'll talk about how our relationship with the film has changed over time, how the film builds on what came before it, and forms our understanding of the Force. Finally, we will provide you with some recommendations for other material you may enjoy if you love these movies. And guys, Colleen may not be here this week, but we are welcoming back Bohemian Geeks Studies Princess of the Prequels, Miss Flo Siegel. Flo, welcome back.
I mean, it's literally the highest honor of my life to be here to talk about Solo with you.
Hey, oh, I'm so excited you're here.
I'm so excited. As Flo mentioned, this week we are diving into Disney's 2018 origin story, Solo, a Star Wars story. You guys ready to make the Kessel Run with just a side of droid rebellion?
Yeah, I think there's a lesson in there somewhere.
Good luck finding my Switch, boys.
Ooh.
You know what, Flo? It works. It
does. It definitely works.
Unfortunately, at the box office, this film didn't quite work. So Solo was released on May 25th, 2018. It was written by Lawrence Kasdan and Jonathan Kasdan and directed by Ron Howard. So during production, the original directors, Lord and Miller, left the project due to some major creative differences. Reportedly, they had kind of a more slapstick antic and a little bit more laid back on set. And it really, really clashed with not only the studio, but the writers as well. They were kind of like, no, shoot it as we wrote it. So the studio decided to bring in Ron Howard. He reshot about 80 to 90% of the footage and finished the movie.
I didn't realize he reshot that much footage.
Oh, yeah. I think it was probably closer to 80%, but you need to shoot, I think, 90% of a movie in order to actually get the director credit. So he managed to get just enough for that.
Okay. Wow.
So on a budget of about $275 million, this movie grossed $213.8 million domestic and $179.4 million overseas for a total of $393.2 million. It was estimated at the time the film needed to gross $500 million in order to break even, after you factor in the marketing budget and all the promotions. So that makes this the first Star Wars movie ever to truly post a loss for the studio. Ron Howard blamed internet trolls for the poor reception of the film. This was just a few months after Last Jedi, which really divided a lot of the fans. And it was also, like I said, it was only a couple of months. It was pretty quick afterwards. So some people were wondering about the potential for Star Wars fatigue, which I think, given our current climate, we're not that worried about anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember like seeing a lot of buzz on the internet about like the change in directors. And I feel like that really went like, it kind of colored people's vision as they like watched the movie, that they were just like, I don't know if this is good because they changed directors, not because they were actually like judging the movie.
Yeah, I think people were very quick to judge. A lot of people were like trying to pick out like, oh, which parts were done by Ron Howard and which ones weren't. And was this just a retouch? Which, I mean, we had just gone through something like that with the behind the scenes quote unquote drama that made Rogue One. And that turned out great.
Right.
So I don't know why people didn't really have faith.
So I think part of it has to do with the awful internet rage war that went on after The Last Jedi. Like you have a lot of those people that were trashing Last Jedi and then started dissecting every little thing about director changes and all that. And so it was just kind of a weird toxic online space back in early 2018 before this came out. So it doesn't really shock me that it got hit by the backlash of that. But I do have a sad confession to make. Of all 5 Star Wars movies that have come out when I've been an adult, this is the only one that I didn't go re-see in theaters. I saw every movie at least 3 times in theaters. This is the only one I saw once.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Solo. It's not your fault. I'm so sorry. I'll tell you why I love it more later. But yeah, that's my dirty confession for this movie.
All right. Well, then let's move right into our reactions to this movie. Daniel, kind of, I guess you alluded to it just now. So do you remember the first time you saw this movie? Do you remember the general hype around it? And has your relationship with this movie changed since you first saw it?
I remember when I went and saw it, it was a really nice theater, like nice leather seats and everything. I felt so fancy watching it, but it was fun. I remember enjoying the movie. I don't think I enjoyed it as much on my first viewing. I watched it again a few months later when it came out on Blu-ray, and I remembered realizing that, oh, this is a fun movie. I think I just kind of went, oh, that was nice when I left the theaters, and now rewatching it multiple times, I appreciate it a lot more. So this is one of the films that's definitely benefited from a rewatch. I was excited in the lead up to it, but I think I was kind of swept up in a little bit of is it going to be good? It's been chopped up so much. So I had mixed expectations and I left the theater happy, but I've loved it more as I've gotten, as I've watched more.
Well, my confession time. This is the first time I've actually rewatched this movie ever. I saw it once in the theaters and then that was it until getting ready for this particular pod. And I remember I didn't dislike it. I was like, oh, this is fun. Kind of like you were saying, Daniel, like it's fine. Watching it this time, I still think it's fun. I have a few criticisms about it that we'll get to a little bit later, but I think it just overall, something about it didn't quite click in my head the way other Star Wars movies did. I'm not really sure why necessarily, but it was still fun. I still enjoyed it. I think this might be also the first Star Wars movie I've never actually owned a copy of.
Oh, wow.
It was right around the time that I stopped buying physical DVDs or Blu-rays. And then you start getting into, things end up on streaming services. So the need to buy them becomes a little bit less. So I never bought this. And then because it came after, I have yet to buy a copy of Rise of Skywalker either. And I am a completionist.
Better get to it.
Normally I would have as a completionist, but now all of them are on Disney Plus. So I don't feel the need.
So I saw this movie, I think at a cast member screening, because my husband works for Disney. And so we usually see the big...
Brag much? Jeez.
It's not like that. It's really honestly, it's not glamorous because I'll tell you what you've got to do. You've got to get to the movie theater in Burbank and your showing is at 7:30 a.m. or something. So we're up at 5 to go see it. It is not glamorous.
No.
So I'm pretty sure we saw it there. And I just remember really laughing a lot. I think this movie is really, really funny in a way that I haven't seen Star Wars a lot. So I really like this movie a ton. I liked it coming out and then I feel like I forgot about it. And I was like, wait, what happened in this movie? I honestly I remember liking it and then I was just okay, that it's done. I am a huge Qi'ra head. So for any of you who have listened to our BGS coverage of anything, I'm obsessed with Qi'ra. I think she's fabulous. I thought this movie was pretty romantic in a swashbuckling kind of way. And so I really, really liked it. I love this movie. I think this was my first rewatch since the theater. And I liked it even more the second time. So it was great. And I want to say, just a quick shout out, I did watch this movie with Colleen when she came to visit. So shout out to you, Colleen. It was really fun watching it with you, and we miss you. And I'm sorry that you're not here with us to record this.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some of the fun things in this movie. So Daniel, you want to start us off with our favorite ships?
Yeah.
Other than Qi'ra and Han.
I ship them so hard.
I mean, they were hot together. So how do you guys feel about the updated Falcon? I personally like that escape pod in the front. I think it looks interesting. I'm going to prefer the original Falcon always, but I liked the look it had in this one.
I liked it.
I liked it. I feel like I liked it more on this rewatch because Lando mentions that he put the escape pod there, meaning that the Falcon that we know and love is the actual quote unquote intended design of the ship.
Exactly. This is just a modification. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was really struck in this movie at how clean it is on the inside.
Yes.
It's so clean.
So
like, Han, you need to be better at your cleaning skills, bro.
So you guys know me. I'm big on Lego Star Wars. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
If you watch Lego Star Wars All Stars, it takes place over a very long span of time. But there is a scene where one of the characters meets Lando in like the past and has an adventure on the Falcon. And then like the next episode, we've jumped into the future and Han shows up with the Falcon and he's like, hey, come on board the Millennium Falcon. And they're just like, that's the Millennium Falcon? What did you do?
Yeah, dude, he like trashed it. Like it was beautiful. And there was like a whole walk-in closet for capes. Like, come on. Yeah.
First time we've gotten a good look at the living quarters too.
Absolutely.
Apparently it has a
so
walk-in
fun.
closet. Or maybe that was going to be Chewie's cabin later. I don't know.
So messed up.
Well, you take the second cabin and you turn it into a closet because Lando's cape game is just on point.
I mean
there
I'm
were
sure
so
we're going
many
to talk
capes.
about it later, but man, he is
Time for a
one
cape
well-dressed
comeback.
man.
The capes, the beautiful capes.
I mean, okay, I'll talk about this later, but I have a lot to say about the capes. Okay, I want to talk about Voss's yacht, which, first of all, I love that we call these yachts. I think that's my favorite thing about Star Wars.
Right?
Just like, this is my cruise ship. Okay, so his yacht is called the First Light. It was a custom job by what? I don't even know.
I think it's pronounced Kalevala.
Okay, that's
I'm
what
guessing.
I was gonna go with, but I was just like, Kale, maybe. Kalevala Space.
Kalevala.
And it has a distinct vertical design. It's like a skyscraper, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. The interiors of the ship were inspired by the Marin County Civic Center up in NorCal. Shout out to Northern California. And that was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. And this ship is sick. It's just like a floating casino in a high rise.
It's gorgeous.
And it's his own personal ship that happens to also have a casino. And I'm assuming some swimming pools and a bunch of other stuff.
I mean, there's definitely a bowling alley for sure.
Oh God, that would be awesome. Bowling alley on a ship in space. Like, okay, cool. Oh my gosh. You know what it reminds me of? The not shitty version of those ships from Thor: The Dark World. Those like knife ships that the elves have.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I could see
really
that.
Really good point. It was just great.
Yeah.
I just like loved it. At first, like when I first saw it, I thought it was on like the planet, like it was like a building.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it flew later, I was like, oh, it was a ship. Okay. I like felt really stupid.
No, I don't blame you.
Too tall.
It looked like a tower just on the side of the mountain.
Right? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. I'm not crazy.
Yeah, no, you're not crazy.
Well, these things are not mutually exclusive.
Well,
Shut up, Anders.
Oh man. I also wanted to mention though, the stolen speeder that Han has at the start, the M68. I thought that was so cool.
It's cool. It is another one that he trashes.
Yeah, yes. I mean, it was a good idea. Maybe. Yeah. It works later in the film.
It does when you have enough power and you're not, and you're not being sunk down to the ground.
Well, I thought it was a nice reference towards like George Lucas's old love of cars and like, he did a bunch of like early work filming car stuff. So I thought that was nice to include. Sorry, Flo, what were you going to say?
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'm just a whore for these speeder chases. Like, I cannot. Like, this just was exactly like how I felt when I saw the Attack of the Clones one, where it's like speeder chase, hot guy in a hot car, like, give it all to me, going super fast. She's like basically all over him. Isn't Qi'ra like making out with him while he's driving? I'm just like, or was that just like it was like in my dream, probably. I just like elaborated a little bit in the fan fiction.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
That's right. But it was just hot. I was just like, yes, like this is the Han Solo I know. Like I fully buy that he would do this. Like I'm all about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. And lastly, not a ship that we actually see, but that ship that Han supposedly has to bet with against Lando is a Corellian VCX 100. That is the same model that will show up in Star Wars Rebels as the Ghost. It cannot be an episode of this podcast where we don't tell you all to watch Rebels. So
exactly.
There's your plug
Watch
for
Rebels.
Today.
I Googled that when I was watching. I was just like, oh, what's a VCX 100? I just want to see what it is. And then when I saw the Wikipedia article that said it's what the Ghost is, I like got up. I had to pause the movie, go out and tell my roommate. I was so excited. I was like, I know what that is. I know what that is. Oh, man.
All right.
So we've talked about our favorite ships. It's time to talk about our favorite aliens, favorite droids. I think we'll have to start, since we're talking about ships, with L3. So I love her. She is played fantastically by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. So she has a just hilarious personality. She's got quips a minute. And then, like we said, speaking of ships, she does end up getting plugged into the Millennium Falcon. So she is that strange dialect that C-3PO brings up when he plugs into the Falcon later on.
Yeah. Part of my background research for this pod was that Phoebe Waller-Bridge had just never really seen Star Wars before like getting this role. And she did not know what a droid was. So she just she played the audition like she would play a human. And then later she tried to like add droid elements to it when she found out what that was. And they were just like, no, do it the way you did it the first time.
That's hilarious.
I love that.
That is so good.
Yes.
I was asked recently like what my droid rankings were. Mm-hmm. And I think L3 is my number one droid.
Whoa.
I'm obsessed with L3. It's like I can't with her. Like she's just so great.
Need more of her.
Like right. Like the only thing, and I mean, I guess I'll get to this in my Untouchables, but like spoiler, the only thing that like I'm really upset about is how little we got of her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want her in like 12 movies. I want the L3 spinoff. I want like all of it. I want her like at a feminist droid march. Like I just need her everywhere. Yes.
Maybe, I mean, we are getting the Disney Plus Lando show. Not really sure what era that's taking place in.
Oh my God. If that is the main ship, I will die.
While we're talking L3, I do need to say one thing that Colleen told me to let everyone know. She did, I'm sorry, Flo, want to say that Lando and L3 have more chemistry than Anakin and Padme. I'm sorry, I'm just reading it directly. I'm just reading it directly from the phone. I'm the messenger. Don't hurt me.
Okay, I have to say, like, I wouldn't say they have more, but I would say they have just the same amount of chemistry, and it's hot. Like, it's like weird how invested I am.
That's amazing praise from you. That's amazing praise from you.
It is top shelf praise for me because you know how much I love Anakin and Padme, but like when Lando is cradling L3, like I was distraught. Absolutely, like I fully believed that like they were madly in love and that it works. They were like doing it in the back of the Millennium Falcon.
Yes.
Oh man, I love her so much.
Yeah, there was a little tear in the eye on that one.
Yeah.
And she was physically on set in a droid costume for this. She kind of had like a green screen outfit underneath so that they could like digitally remove stuff, but she was physically doing all the stuff on set.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really cool.
So I want to shout out Rio, who is the four-armed Ardenian who is voiced by none other than Jon Favreau, creator of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
He's just fun. He's got that kind of like sarcastic getaway driver vibe going on the whole time. I was very upset when he died. I thought it was totally unnecessary. Get to that a little bit later. And just every time he's talking to Han, he's so sarcastic and he's just like twisting the knife more and more into him. And I I'm laughing the entire time he's talking.
He's such a little jerk, and I love him.
Yeah.
I felt like he was really approachable, actually. I was just like, he's a jerk, but like in such like a funny way that it was like, I feel like Han would like really respond to that and be like,
yeah, he's like a stand-up comic jerk.
Yeah. I really liked him a lot too. I thought it was great. All right, should we talk about somebody who's not an alien or a droid?
I think so.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Even though this is our favorite alien or droid.
Well, he would normally be a droid, but he's not.
He would. Yeah. That's why he's in this section. But we just wanted to shout out Star Wars legend Anthony Daniels, who is in this movie as Tak, one of the human slaves on Kessel, which that section was just like hard to watch anyways. With this, he's the only actor to appear in every canon Star Wars movie to date. So good job, Anthony Daniels. Crushing it.
Yeah.
Go get those checks, baby.
Amen.
Yo, if I could do like one thing to become famous for and just cash checks for the rest of my life,
yes,
I believe I would.
Yeah, sign me up.
Before we get into our next segment, we'd like to take a second to tell you all about this week's sponsor, Brush. Brush is an electric toothbrush that will change the way you think about brushing your teeth. With powerful sonic technology and ultra gentle bristles, the Brush redefines what it means to have super clean teeth. It's like that feeling when you leave the dentist office and your teeth are kind of slick. It's just really fresh, whole mouth clean every single day. Our listeners can get 15% off their total purchase with code POD15. That is POD15. Follow the link in the show notes and enter the code POD15 to get your exclusive discount and upgrade your oral care routine.
We'd also like to tell you about our new partnership with Fiverr. Do you need a freelancer to help design your new website? Or maybe you need someone to help write expert articles and blogs for it, or an expert presentation designer to help with that big work project. Look no further than the #1 freelance marketplace, Fiverr. You can find designers, programmers, and more within seconds, some for as low as $5 per gig. Fiverr is the ideal tool to help you with pressing projects. Just post your gig or search for freelancers and you're off. Don't worry with the hassle of finding freelancers by yourself. Let Fiverr help you. See the link in the show notes to get started. Please note, Yet Another Star Wars podcast is an affiliate partner of Fiverr. We may receive commissions on purchases and services you buy after you click the link. These commissions help support the growth of Yet Another Star Wars podcast, and we appreciate your continued support.
All right, let's get into it now with our untouchables and unbearables. What is perfect about this movie and what just doesn't quite work? My main untouchable for this movie is probably the cast. It is stacked. I mean, Alden's Han, I think, is a little uneven overall, but he's still really solid and not worth any of the hate that he got. There were all these rumors that they were like, oh, they had to bring in an acting coach for him. And first of all, the task is daunting. You are trying to be a young version of Harrison Ford. And he still does a pretty good job. Donald Glover is just amazing as Lando. We already talked about Phoebe Waller-Bridge as L3, Emilia Clarke as Qi'ra. I mean, just overall, wow. I think to me, Qi'ra is the strongest part of this movie. We just passed by the quote-unquote make Solo 2 happen day, and my opinions on that stands. Forget about Solo 2. Give me a Qi'ra project.
Oh, absolutely. I want to see what Qi'ra is up to with Crimson Dawn. I want to see what she's up to with Maul. Like, let me know.
Yeah, so to me, Qi'ra was what I wanted Han to be in this movie, at least by the end. I think that's one of my kind of criticisms of this movie is Han is still really idealistic at the end of this. He's good. If this is an origin story about how he became what he was at the start of A New Hope, I don't see it. Like, he's trying to do the right thing. He is kind of already there. Whereas Qi'ra kind of has a little bit more of that selfish. She's more jaded by this point. Now, who knows? Maybe with Solo 2 and Solo 3, we would have gotten there. I don't know.
That's what I would have thought would happen.
But she was just so good. And I mean, the other cast, we talked about Jon Favreau. You got Woody Harrelson, Tandy Newton. So much good acting in this movie. My number one unbearables. Look, guys, I love the man. He has directed some of my all-time favorite movies. You got Parenthood, you got Apollo 13, which is a masterclass in how to craft a movie, build tension and suspense. Ron Howard was the exact wrong choice to direct this movie. I'm sorry. It's just not a genre that's really in his wheelhouse. knowing what we know about her now, definitely give his daughter the job. Don't get me wrong on that one. Bryce Dallas Howard has done some great job on The Mandalorian. But the closest thing he'd done before this as like an adventure movie is the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons. And those contain, in my opinion, one of the biggest miscastings ever. That would be Tom Hanks. Again, love the guy, but a very wrong choice to play Robert Langdon. And then my main criticism of this movie is that there's too much plot. There is enough plot in this movie to actually make 3 or 4 movies. And on my rewatch, I think that absolutely stands. Like that whole first heist could have been a movie unto itself. And the Han Solo element is him meeting Chewbacca. And then you get another movie where they meet Lando. And then you get another movie where they make the Kessel Run. Like all of these things just jammed together into like a single adventure don't make sense to me. And you are doing too much. And I think the entire Enfys Nest and the Marauder subplot could have been dropped from this movie and no one would notice at all.
Yeah, which is a bummer to me. I love Enfys Nest. I thought it was a fascinating concept, and they just did not use it to the full extent that it needed to be used.
Yeah, I was like totally kind of met on that whole subplot. Give me another gang instead. Give me, instead of Crimson Dawn, give me like Black Sun trying to move in on it.
Yeah, I think that would have been good. I wish we could have gotten, like you were saying, more movies out of the plot that we were presented in this one, because the idea of having, a whole movie about, okay, we're trying to get this coaxium from the Kessel Run, but we're being chased by Enfys Nest gang like across the galaxy as we're doing this or whatever. Like that's a cool concept for a movie. And when it turns out that, Enfys Nest is actually trying to fight against the Empire and all of this, like that's a cool twist. And then we see Enfys Nest, one of her Cloud Riders, is the guy who joins with Saw Gerrera, the tube alien. I've forgotten about him since we recorded last week. Yeah, I want to know how this stuff happens. Like, I'm the one who put him in the script. I can't remember his name. What's going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, tell me more about these.
Absolutely. And then my one other unbearable from this movie. So we talked about with Rogue One how it was kind of cool that they didn't do an opening crawl.
Yeah.
And in this movie, they didn't do an opening crawl, but they still had that, like, the text on screen at the beginning. And there was nothing involved in that text that wasn't explained in the first 5 minutes. So I was just like, why did we bother with this? Like, why are we bothering?
That's fair.
Yeah, they should have just jumped right in like they did with Rogue One.
Just jump right in.
Oh man. Well, I'll bring it back to the untouchable parts of this movie. I think, like you were saying earlier, Flo, this is a funny movie. I was laughing a lot through this. I think part of it is the film. I think it's Phil Lord and Chris Miller are their names. I think part of it is their influence, because they're mostly were comedy guys before coming over to Solo. And, I wish that we could have gotten more of their scenes, because I think they're incredibly funny directors, and it would have, I think this cast would have really responded well to them. So like
they gave us the Lego movie, right?
They gave us the Lego movie. They gave us 21 and 22 Jump Street. So I got to say, the action is so fun in this movie. Like you said earlier, Flo, I am a whore for speeder chases as well. I'm also a whore for anything to do with like good space combat or like, flying around through the maelstrom. Absolutely amazing. And yeah, like I had fun this movie. It's not the deepest Star Wars story. Like the plot's not, really that moving or anything, but I had a lot of fun and it looked beautiful. And Paul Bettany is a sinister, sinister bastard in this movie.
He is.
I had fun. Like that's all I like feel walking away from it. Like I don't really have any like deep thoughts like I have on like, I don't know, Last Jedi or or Revenge of the Sith, where I'm like, oh wow, they're making me feel like certain things or anything like that. No, it's just like, no, this is just a fun movie. Like put it on in the background, enjoy it while you're not doing anything.
Yeah, and Paul Bettany was not originally in this movie. Dryden Voss was under Lord and Miller,
Yeah.
originally being played by, I think it was Michael Kenneth Williams, who is big. If you're a fan of The Wire, he plays Omar. And then I think when Ron Howard came in, he was unfortunately just unavailable to come in and do a lot of the reshoots and a lot of the extra work on it. So they had to recast the part.
And I think he was originally going to be not a human, like he was some sort of like creature.
Well, when I looked at some stuff on this movie, they described Dryden Voss, Paul Bettany's version, as a near human. So not really sure what that means, but he's got the vibro blade, so I don't care.
Yeah, there's a bunch of species like the Mandalorians, the Miralukans, things like that. They're just like, they look exactly like humans, but no, they're different species. It's like, okay, whatever. So yeah. Oh, one thing that I do want to mention, apparently Beckett killed Aura Singh from Clone Wars. That is an offhand reference that they say in this movie. Like when Lando and Beckett get introduced, and Lando's like, "Oh my god, you killed Aura Singh! Like that's amazing. I owed her a lot of money." I like caught that this time, and I did not catch it the first time I watched it. And I need to know what happened. That's amazing. So yeah, that's awesome. I will get into my unbearables. I kind of touched on it when you were talking about yours, how some of the plot points feel underutilized. Like Enfys Nest gang, cool concept, just didn't get their time to shine in this movie. And I feel like Beckett's gang was the same. You know, you bring in these amazing actors to be in this gang with him, but you've got Woody Harrelson, Tandy Wade Newton, and Jon Favreau all together, and you're not going to give me more of them, at least a whole movie of them? Come on, like they're amazing.
That should have been a whole movie. That should have been a whole movie. We didn't get to see them planning the heist. We just kind of jumped straight to, by the way, we're on the heist.
If we lost Rio and Val at the end of the heist, and like that was the end of the movie, like with them parting ways and things like that, wow, that would have been like a wild end of a movie. Like, so yeah, it does feel like a bunch of movies all stuffed into one. And it's like, man, you're really underutilized. Some great cast there, but still, it's fun anyway. So I can't complain that much.
All right, you guys ready?
I'm ready, Flo. What you got?
Okay, so I'll start with my untouchables. Something that I actually really like about this movie is how many different genres of movies are like slapped into one movie. Like I was just thinking while you guys were talking about all the different parts of the movie. And so like you kind of start off with this like kind of like outsiders, like underworld, like seedy underbelly gangster vibe, right? And then you like end up in this like Pearl Harbor movie, right? It's like World War One, which I guess is not Pearl Harbor, but it's like World War One. We're like in the trenches. There's like mud everywhere. People are getting shot at, which like I just feel like we hadn't seen that much. Maybe like Rogue One, we had seen some of it, like more ground troop situation, but like it was pretty good. Like I liked seeing the Empire like that and like kind of putting a face to it. That was really cool. Then we get the like Casino Royale sort of situation on the yacht. Then there's like Castaway vibes. It's like fucking Survivor out there with Enfys Nest. We get like weird James Bond like train heist things. It was just like a lot of things. So kind of like you said, Anders, like,
and you're only halfway through.
I know. Yeah. Exactly. So I did like how the movie like kept it moving. However, as part of like my unbearables, I fully agree with you. This should have been either a series or more than one movie. Like it was just like a lot, but it did keep my attention really well because it kept the pace going. So that was kind of nice. Obviously, another untouchable for me is Han and Qi'ra. Like, I absolutely need to know what was happening before. I need to know what was happening before the car chase. I need to know what was happening to Qi'ra between when she was not with Han, like when he left and she had to stay. Like I absolutely must know. I cannot die until I know because I will haunt this planet forever.
Fair enough.
Must know. And then like I want to know what happened after. Like why aren't they together? Like obviously like Qi'ra is stuck in this crime syndicate. Like Han is not, but like they clearly love each other and like they've got incredible chemistry.
Okay, that's actually stepping on something I was going to ask later.
Ooh.
Do they
Okay.
actually throughout most of the movie, do they actually love each other? Now, I buy that they do in the beginning. And I buy that Han definitely still loves her, but is he at this point where he's like in love with this memory and this idea of her? And she has been through, don't get me wrong, a ton of trauma, but has she kind of molded herself that she's straight up using him at this point? Like at the end, was she ever going to go with him?
I think she was struggling with it the whole time.
Was she
I don't
struggling?
think that she was playing with him. I think she wanted to. And then when the opportunity of Dryden being dead and it was all right there at her fingertips, I think she like finally in that moment was like, well, I have to take this opportunity. I feel like she wanted to go with him up until the choice was right there.
Because I was watching it this time and I'm really paying attention to her kind of throughout the whole movie. And she is, I agree with you. She still seems to like feel something there, but she's also like giving off some pretty strong vibes of like, dude, this is not Corellia. We are not kids anymore. It is time to grow the F up.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think she went through a lot of trauma that we don't know about, and that like I really do want to see what happened to her, and I think Dryden had a lot to do with that. He like gives me really like scary vibes. Like he might be one of the scariest dudes to me in like this whole universe. Like he just like is this like weird gaslighter, manipulator, like horrible human that like he really freaks me out. And Paul Bettany does such a good job playing that role. Like he's a freak. So like, this is so hard for me because I'm like a hopeless romantic. Right. And so like, I want them to be together and like, I want her to have loved them this whole time. But like, I feel like she kind of had to give up on him to survive. Like she couldn't keep thinking about him and Corellia and like where he was, like when she was just trying to live and like make it through each day. And so I think when she saw him, it was like a pretty big shock to her system because she was like, I never thought I would see you again. And like, here you are. And like, now I'm having to deal with all these feelings that I've repressed just to like survive in this world.
Yeah.
And I do think she wanted to leave with him. Like, I think she wanted to get back to, although, you know, it wasn't innocent because they were in this horrible world where they had to like steal and hot wire speeders and go on chases, but like it was more innocent than what she's in now and what she's been through. And so I think definitely part of her was like, yeah, take me away, like let's go just like have a moisture farm somewhere or whatever. You know how I love moisture farms.
Yes, I do.
But at the end of the day, like she also realizes that she's not a kid and she's not that innocent girl. And she's got this role to play. And if she doesn't play this role, I feel like she knows the consequences of that in a way that Han doesn't know or doesn't realize maybe. So I don't think she was ever going to go with him, but I definitely think she wanted to. And I think she was kind of fooling herself too. She was like, I can go, but at the end of the day, like, no, Qi'ra, like you can't. And that sucks.
Yeah.
Like that's a tragedy.
So
yeah,
end of
that
the
makes
day.
a lot of sense.
End of the day, did she stay on that yacht because she had to or she wanted to? Did she want that power or did she feel like she had to save him?
Yeah, a little bit. As I said earlier, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Like
yeah. I mean, there was no choice. She had no choice. So she had to stay. So she may as well want it.
Like, yeah, it's not like she had to avoid Jabba. She had to avoid Maul if she was going to escape from Crimson Dawn.
True. Shout out to that Maul cameo and the most unnecessary lightsaber ignition that has ever happened, but was so cool.
There was no reason.
So dumb.
Drama queen.
One of my unbearables, actually.
All right, Flo, let's get back into your untouchables, unbearables.
Okay, so I mean, unbearable is that Maul lightsaber activation. Unbelievably bad. I was just like, we all know you have, like, calm down. Also, like, I did really like seeing Maul, but I thought he was dead because I obviously like haven't watched or read a lot of stuff. And so I was just like, what is happening? I feel like maybe some like background knowledge would have been nice or the expectation. I mean, I think we were expecting a sequel. And so I was like, okay, they're going to explain it. And I'm still like left hanging. Like, I know that he was like chopped up and put in a dumpster or something, but like,
True, yeah. Quick.
That's exactly it.
That is exactly what happened. Obi-Wan cut him in half, threw him into the dumpster. He managed to survive basically by channeling the dark side. Pure anger made him survive, and he ended up on some kind of a trash planet. Fashioned himself some like weird scorpion legs things out of a bunch of trash, like robot scorpion legs. He was eventually found by his brother, Savage Opress, who brought him back to Dathomir. The Night Sisters did some weird dark side magic stuff to kind of strengthen up his legs a little bit and make him somewhat whole again. They had a bunch of quote unquote adventures where they kept running into Kenobi and Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
And
I just feel like
some pirate gang. And then he ultimately took over Mandalore and got for the last point in the timeline that we saw him would be when Palpatine realizes that he's secretly running Mandalore and goes to take care of him himself.
Got it. I just feel like if I looked you dead in the eyes and was like, hey, Anders, so guess what? I read a story where Darth Maul like was put in a dumpster and then got scorpion legs. You'd be like, what kind of a weird ass fan fiction? Like,
mechanical scorpion legs.
That's craziness.
It truly
this
is
like
wild when you say it out loud.
It is. Flo, this is like what I used to text you guys with the Lego Ninja updates.
Oh my gosh, that was the highlight of my life. I think one day we should publish those texts because it was just Anders on our group text telling us about Lego
Ninjago.
Lego Ninjago, just like updating us, and we were all just like, I mean, I assume we were all doing this, but basically it was just me staring at my phone being like, is he high? Like, how high is he? Such a good time. Okay, my other untouchables, just utter perfection, is Lando. I mean, Glover's Lando in this is just, it's everything that I wanted from young Lando. Hilarious, sassy, like just the best, like womanizer to the max, obsessed with him. Obviously, we've already talked about L3. I want to go into one of my unbearables. This movie is incomplete, and I'm going to tell you why. And if you tell me there's a deleted scene about it, Anders, I'm going to have to punch you. How on earth did we not get a scene where Qi'ra and Han fuck on Lando's capes? That is unbearable to me. Like, they were right there. I mean, it has to exist somewhere. I must have it. If you are listening to this and you have fan art, unedited raw footage from the day of filming, I must immediately see it. That is like my dream, to fuck all over Lando's capes.
That deleted scene does not exist. At least not on what's on Disney Plus.
Okay.
You wouldn't watch it anyway. You still haven't gone back and watched the Attack of the Clones deleted scenes.
You're right. I am gonna watch that tonight. I promise. Will you text me later? So yeah, that's unbearable to me. And then I echo what you guys have said about Enfys Nest. I didn't even understand what the Enfys Nest plotline was, honestly. Also, like, them taking coaxium out with a weird syringe and then just like sticking it into like the hyperdrive was just like, what is happening?
Yeah, it
reminded me of like siphoning gas. Like, I was fully expecting him to like just like suck on the tube at one point.
Yeah.
It was the Fast and Furious part of the movie.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Exactly right. This was Fast and the Furious solo drift or whatever. Millennium Falcon drift. Yeah, I hated that. I was just like, it's super explosive. Like, stay away from it. Don't take a syringe to it. What's wrong with? Anyways, it was just really annoying. Yeah, I don't know. It was really, really funny. That's my main like untouchable with it. Is just, it was hilarious, and I just really enjoy watching it. Everybody's hot. Everybody's talented. Everything's beautiful. I will say one more thing about my unbearable. I hated the like Beckett trickery. Like, that was just really annoying to me. Yeah.
Beckett tricking them or them tricking Beckett?
All of it. Okay. I hated all of that. I was just like, Han has nobody. he trusts nobody. He's got Chewbacca now, but like Chewbacca tried to kill him. It was like not great. But like to then be like, don't trust anybody, it was just really sad. And I just felt really bad for him. And like, I don't know. I don't like feeling sad for him.
I gotta say, Chewbacca has like the worst luck of any Star Wars character ever. Like in every property we see him, he's been like recaptured and enslaved. Like he's captured here. When we saw him, I think when he saw him in Clone Wars, he had an adventure with Ahsoka. He was enslaved. I feel like we see him in Rebels at some point. There's at least like one or two other places where he shows up in chains, and you're just like, what keeps happening?
Yeah, dude,
and it was so sad when he had to say goodbye to his Wookiee friend.
I know.
Yes, that was super sad. You
that
know where
Wookiee
this
looked
wouldn't
weird.
happen? This wouldn't happen if Chewbacca just had a moisture farm, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, but the places where you would have moisture farms, Chewbacca would have to like shave himself to keep himself cool, and that would just be weird.
Can you imagine like a hairless Wookiee?
Chewbacca with like a poodle cut.
Oh my god!
They tried to pull that off with. They tried to pass Zeb off as a hairless Wookiee.
Oh my god! Yeah, that was really funny.
Yeah.
Oh man! Although, like now, when I think about Chewbacca and Wookiees, I just think of the holiday special, and I just want to die. So.
You're welcome.
Damn it!
So, Anders, real quick, when you said that other Wookiee looked weird, I think that Wookiee was supposed to look like emaciated and stuff.
Yeah.
After being in those spice mines.
Yeah, and it got down. He was definitely emaciated, but I don't know. He just reminded me a lot more of the like the original Planet of the Apes makeup.
Yeah, I got a little bit of Bigfoot vibes from this Wookiee.
Yeah. Flo, you have any more untouchables or unbearables?
No, I love it. Make Solo 2 happen. Make Solo 3 happen. Give me the Qi'ra show on Disney Plus. I want all of it, and I want it immediately injected into my veins. Thank you.
Yeah. Co-signed.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll go for it. As long as we get the Qi'ra one in there, you could do Solo till the cows come home.
100%. And I just feel like the Qi'ra show would be so good. Like, I just need so much more time with her, more than they can give me in one movie. So
Emilia Clarke as a mob boss in Star Wars, working with Darth Maul, like that is such an amazing concept for a show. Why have we not done this?
Wait, I have one more untouchable. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Emilia Clarke's high ponytails in this. Oh man. As somebody, I mean, you guys can see it. I'm currently rocking a high ponytail. This is my everyday go-to teacher look. As a high ponytail wearer, I feel vindicated by this movie. Thank you, Emilia Clarke. You are beautiful. You are a boss bitch. Go get them.
Okay, that high ponytail when she comes out of the ship when they're on Kessel and she's got like that regal outfit on. I was like, you are rocking it. And then she comes running out with the grenades and she's throwing the grenades, looking fierce while doing it. She said, let me kill these guys, but make it fashion. And I was here for every second.
She just looks amazing in this movie. She
does.
She is everything that I wanted Padme to be when she was not. Like, her fashion was unbelievable and exactly what I would want from Padme in episode 3. Instead of wearing fucking like jewel encrusted nightgowns, I wanted the like beautiful like satiny capes. This is exactly what I wanted.
Just bring capes back for everyone.
100%.
Seriously.
And then fuck on them. Perfect.
Well, you got to put something down between the bed and yourself.
Well, I mean, we're not animals. Come on.
Yeah.
Aren't those sheets?
I mean, you don't want to get. I mean,
Anders,
we all know where that's going.
I know.
Lingering questions on this movie. Oh gosh. Oh man. So how do we feel about Han getting the Solo name? That actually, I didn't bring it up in my unbearables because I want to talk about it here. That was one of the few things in this movie that just made me go, oh, come on. Are you kidding me? I wish I had like a better idea or suggestion for how he would get the name, or it could have just been a family name. That wouldn't have bothered me or anything. Do you guys have any thoughts or feelings or like suggestions for how he could have gotten the name?
Yeah, I would have been absolutely fine with it if it was just his name, Solo.
Yeah.
Or if not, I agree with you. The the guy coming up with it in the way that he did made just like zero sense. First of all, I'm not really that convinced that the Empire is concerned with last names. They just want bodies. And I don't know, if I were to do it another way, I would have something like he says the word a couple of times, like wait for backup, and he's just like, now I'll do it solo. And that happens once or twice. And then someone like Rio or Val, like, hey, Mr. Solo, get yourself together. And then it just kind of sticks. That just kind of sticks that way.
That would have been cute. And I think I would have liked it better if it had been more like somebody that he was friendly with who kind of gives it to him. And then like he kind of like, you know, like, oh, Mr. Solo. And then he like kind of calls himself that. Like
That's
maybe
true.
after like Rio dies too. It's just
Rio
like
dies or going back to a few minutes ago.
The best.
Going back to a few minutes ago, he and Qi'ra are like among the capes, and she's like, you were always Mr. Solo.
That's right. Now he's gonna have to do it solo because they're not fucking on the capes. Unbelievable.
Oh. You know, that's why she left, because he didn't fuck on the capes.
That's it. 100%.
We have an answer.
That's exactly the answer. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a super issue with how he got it in this. Like, I thought it was kind of cheesy, but I also had never considered that wasn't actually his last name. So that was kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know.
It was something that I just didn't need to have answered.
Yeah.
If Rio had given him that nickname, I think I would have not had that same reaction. But you know, it doesn't ruin the film, so ultimately not the worst thing.
Yeah.
Do we have any other lingering questions on the movie before we move on?
I don't think so, but let's move into then. How does this movie build on what came before it? This is one of our first scratch that. It's not really one of our prequels, but it is like kind of our first side character origin story. So it's hard to build up, but they do bring in a lot of stuff from other pieces of canon. Daniel, you want to get us started?
Yeah, so Crimson Dawn, the gang led by Dryden, actually led by Maul, is one of the gangs that joins Maul's Shadow Collective. So I don't believe they're part of the original Shadow Collective that we see in season 5 of the Clone Wars, but they do join up later on towards like season 7 and stuff. So Maul's Shadow Collective was that army of mercenaries and various gangs that he aligned together, to go take Mandalore.
Now, when you say Maul, you do mean the half dumpster man with the scorpion legs.
Yes.
Okay, just making
He has cool robot legs at that point.
True.
Oh, okay.
After the scorpion legs, when he gets his magic robot legs.
Ah, yeah, I forgot about the magic robot legs. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can't forget that part. There is some magic to it.
There is some magic to it. The dark side can do some really fucked up stuff, guys.
Oh, man.
Look, Mama Talzin is cool. I like her.
She is.
I'll take your word for it. This just sounds like some fever dream that you guys had. I don't know.
I mean, there are parts of the Clone Wars that I can understand feeling like a fever dream.
Yeah. And I mean, if you want to bring back the character that you saw cut in half and fall down like a reactor shaft, you're going to have some kind of a fever dream to make it happen.
That's fair.
Yeah, his mom being a wild like space witch is one way to do it.
This is true.
I would say the only way.
Did I forget the fact that it was his mom?
Yeah.
You did. You forgot that tidbit. Thank you, though. Just hit myself in the eye with my pen. I got so excited. Such a mess. Okay. All right. Whew. This movie has so many origins. Obviously, like that's kind of what the movie's for. So let's list some of those. We get how Han got his last name, supposedly, although all of us thought that was just his name, but that's fine. We see him meeting Chewbacca, and we get to meet Chewbacca for the first time in like a really sad way. Poor Chewbacca, like all matted and covered in mud. Horrible.
Yeah. What did you guys think about Han speaking Wookiee?
Weird. So weird.
Little strange, right?
Very, like, where would he have learned it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess just from another like Corellian street urchin type thing. I found myself laughing at that because it's like, oh, no wonder he speaks English to Chewie. Like he sucks at speaking Qi'ra, but at least like he put in the effort. I think that was like Chewbacca was like, oh, okay, like, this guy's not a total idiot.
Fair. I don't know.
It felt like Dory speaking whale.
Yes.
That's like the only thing I could think of. I was just like, okay, whatever. So it was just strange. Obviously, we also meet Lando. Oh, so good. So good. Honestly, like when Qi'ra brings them to that bar or pub or whatever they're in, and she's like, I have a friend or whatever, and it's Lando, and I'm just like, this is the greatest thing ever, the best. And then
she was talking about his prodigious and then gets cut off, but like, let her finish.
Dude, they for sure did stuff.
Yeah, 100%. That's the other deleted scene. They were all together on the Capes.
They finished.
100%. They had a threesome. And also, like, I think Qi'ra like did stuff like in a previous sabacc game, and she was like his like lucky charm and like did stuff under the sabacc table. 100%. A million percent. Fully believe it. Qi'ra fucks, guys. Like,
oh, she does.
Oh, and she's unapologetic, and that's why she is so great. And honestly, she and L3, I want to see them together. I need a fan fiction where it's just Qi'ra and L3 going around like just fucking shit up in the galaxy. I would pay money for that fan fiction. So
yeah,
it'd be great.
That would be
it'd
dope.
Be the best.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we see the winning of the Falcon, which we've always like kind of wondered about. So it was fun to see it. And then, of course, yeah, Lando's a big fat cheater.
Yep. He is, but Han gets around it, so it's fine.
I mean, and they get the boot off the Falcon.
I do not care for cards. Like, I'm just not a fan of playing cards, but I found myself really liking the two sabacc game scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
It was just fun. Because you know what? I didn't have to pretend like I understood how this game plays like I do in real life. I was just like, oh no, this is just like space poker and it's fun.
It kind of reminded me of like one of my favorite movies, which is Vegas Vacation, National Lampoon.
I love Vegas Vacation. Oh my God.
It's like one of my all-time favorite movies. And I was like, yeah, like I don't personally play poker. We have a lot of friends who play poker, but I don't. And I was just like, I don't know anything about poker, or sabacc, but I'm super invested in this game. And like, I am really rooting for you and your big ass bets, Han Solo.
Oh God, just get Han to Canto Bite and give us like Solo 2, Casino Royale.
Yes, please. Right now. Right now. Qi'ra in a gown, big ass slit up her leg. That's all I want.
Why are we not producers for Star Wars?
Disney, call us. Lucasfilms, we are available. We can drop our day jobs anytime. I'm on summer vacation. I've got like 12 weeks of vacay. I can make it happen.
All right. Well, one other thing we get, another gang in this movie, the Pikes, also of the Clone Wars and part of Maul's Shadow Collective, make their live action debut in this movie. These guys, I think, look pretty cool. I'm a big fan of the Shadow Collective. It actually reminds me of one of my favorite Legend stories, which would be the Darth Bane trilogy, where he kind of starts building this. He's like this behind the scenes orchestrator of a bunch of these different gangs, and people don't really know that they're all connected through him. And so Maul's kind of taking on that role in this whole thing. And I like crime stories. What can I say?
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you.
That's fair.
So we also, speaking of the Pikes, we get to see the Kessel Run where they take the coaxium from the Pikes. So this is the canon version of events. So they make the run in just over 12 parsecs, rather than the boastful less than 12 parsecs that Han says in A New Hope. So it becomes something of a joke among fans when they realize that a parsec is a unit of distance and not time. So this was explained away by the idea that the black holes and storms around Kessel make hyperspace travel very difficult. So the Kessel Run measures how little distance a ship has to travel in real space before being able to jump to hyperspace. So it was a pretty wild thing to see. Like, I thought they did a really good job of like the storms and everything. Like, it was
storms. The monster seemed like overkill to me, not gonna lie.
The monster's a little overkill. But I like the idea of just like the horrible, scary things out in deep space that like the monsters out there. Yeah.
I love the shot of the Star Destroyer like in the tunnel. That is a really, really like just ominous
cool
shot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that was really neat. And the black hole was terrifying. Like that.
It was.
Ooh. I would hate to get sucked up into one. That would be horrible. Thank God it's never going to happen to me. I was just going to mention, though, in Legends, we do get the Kessel Run, which is pretty much the same, but Han makes it in 11.5 parsecs, so it matches his original claim. It ends up that record gets broken by a smuggler named Boshek with his ship, the Infinity, although his cargo hold was empty, so the ship could go a little faster, so cheating. But Han ends up retaking the record on a run with Luke later on. So that's a fun little bit of Legends lore there.
Mm-hmm. And then, guys, lastly, our last segment is always, what does this film teach us about the Force and Force abilities? And for the first time ever, it doesn't. This is the only Star Wars movie that never mentions Jedi or Sith. It's the only one without a lightsaber fight. All we get is that random lightsaber. I feel like they were like, we have to have a lightsaber in a Star Wars movie, so Maul just, light it up and make it look intimidating. But other than that Maul cameo, we do not have a single Force user in this movie. No mention of it at all. Which, going back to our Disney canon pod, I'm wondering if that's one of the reasons it didn't quite do as well. That it's the least successful movie and it's the only one without any Force users.
I'll
be honest. Yeah, I like that part of it.
I do too. Don't get me wrong.
I like just being in the Star Wars universe.
And I just feel like so few people are actually Force users in the galaxy that it's like nice to see like how the 99% live. Like, I don't know,
like
just cool.
the everyday people in the galaxy.
Yeah, who can't just like force push and force choke and whatever. They're just like, they've got to use their wits and whatever else they've got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we need a little bit more of that, which is why I'm glad we're getting things like the Cassian Andor show where there's probably not going to be any Force users and stuff like that. So I hope they explore that a little bit more in the coming projects.
All right, guys. Well, I think that is going to wrap up our discussion on Solo. So as always, we will close with recommendations. Content you may enjoy if you liked Solo. Daniel, take us away.
So my roommate's probably going to kill me when he hears this one because I've not finished these games and he's been telling me to do this forever. But if you want that kind of like fun, jokey gunslinger vibe that we got from Solo here, I recommend the Uncharted series of video games. So you play as this treasure hunter, Nathan Drake, who's kind of like a modern day Indiana Jones, and he's got a little bit of that Han Solo swagger. He has a trusted sidekick that comes along with him, but nowhere near as cool as Chewbacca. Like, you can't beat Chewbacca. It's just an older guy with a cigar who's got a bunch of catchphrases who's awesome. Uncharted series of video games on PlayStation. Definitely recommend that.
All right. For me, as always, check out the novelization of this movie. In this case, it is written by Mur Lafferty. Some good extra content in there. As always, just the descriptions of things, I think, always make the movie even more enjoyable. And if you're looking for some other good origin stories, I would recommend the first two books in the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy. The last book, I believe, is coming out later this year. Timothy Zahn going back for a younger Grand Admiral Thrawn. You have Chaos Rising and The Greater Good. And then if you also are interested in a good origin story based on, something kind of small from the original movies, I got to recommend Underworld: Rise of the Lycans. This was on the other night. The last couple Underworld movies didn't really go so well, but I think this one was still really, really good. I'm a big fan of that franchise, and Len Wiseman, get that TV show out, man. Come on.
Cool.
I had forgotten about those movies. I used to watch them on FX when they'd show up.
Yeah, it was on FX the other night.
Hell yeah.
You guys are nerds and I love you. Okay, my recommendations. I'm actually sticking with the Disney-verse for this first one. This movie just like really reminds me of Guardians of the Galaxy from our friends over at Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like Star-Lord and Han would be like best friends. Like such the same vibes. It's unbelievable. So every time I watch Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm like, is that Han? Like, what is happening? So that is my first suggestion. And then
would they get into a fight? Would they get into a fight like Star-Lord and Thor do? Would they kind of get into like a little bit of a macho off?
Probably. I would think so. I think
but
like
they each have their own ship. So I think they have like a little bit more security with each other because they're not having that fight like Thor and Star-Lord are.
And they've got their own leather jackets. So
Oh, yeah, exactly. They've got their own fashion going on.
they would look great. I would totally pay to see them like in a dance off. It would just be beautiful.
Something tells me Han can't dance.
I feel like he could. I feel like
Lando could definitely
necessity
dance.
is the
Han,
mother
not
of
so
invention.
sure.
I think he could do it. I think he'd do like a little like white guy shake, you know? Like it wouldn't be great. I mean, whatever. I think it would be cute.
Look,
And then
if it was peak Harrison Ford,
he can do no wrong anyways, so it's
Exactly.
totally fine. I think it was in the Attack of the Clones pod that I suggested Bridgerton the show on Netflix, which I'm currently in my rewatch. I'm like on episode 4 of my rewatch because it's so good, but mostly because I have started reading the books. So right now I am on book 5, and I believe there's like 8. And they're really good. And so the books are my suggestion today. The Bridgerton books, you can get them from your public library, probably. Go support public libraries. But if you want people fucking on capes, I'm pretty sure they fuck on capes in Bridgerton. So that is my suggestion for you today.
Oh, man. Oh, well, I think that's going to wrap us all up today. Thank you so much, Flo, for joining us. This was so much fun.
This was a good time.
Yeah, I had a great time talking about this movie.
I mean, you guys always know who to call if you want some cape content. Love you guys.
Right, this was a horny movie at points, so I feel like this was only appropriate.
So why not call your horniest host friend?
I mean, you brought the exact energy that was needed for
What
this.
if they had to use a seismic charge to make the castle run?
Honestly, Anders, if there had been a seismic charge in this movie, I don't know that I could have made it through. Like, I think I would have needed a break, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, they knew the people couldn't handle that much.
They couldn't. It was too much. It was too hot.
Yeah, Disney wasn't trying to you were going to cause people to faint in theaters if that was going to happen.
Faint? It would be like a flood in the theater, my dude. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I'm not about to pass out.
Oh my God.
Whew.
Well, stream WAP. And on that, thank you for joining us today. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Yet Another Star Wars Pod, or YASW Pod, excuse me. You can also follow us wherever you're getting your podcast, and you can leave us those 5-star reviews. We greatly appreciate it. Check out all the offerings in the Forgotten Entertainment family at ForgottenEntertainment.com. You can also find Anders, Flo, and Colleen on the Bohemian Geeks Studies podcast, where they are currently diving into Star Wars Rebels. Watch Rebels, as we say every week, and we mean it. You can also find Colleen's Star Wars book reviews on BohemianGeekStudies.com. So tune in next time when we will be finishing this run of the podcast by following orders and combing the desert as we look at the Star Wars parody through the lens of 1987's Spaceballs. I can't wait for this.
I can't wait. This is going to be a fun one.
I just read Combing the Desert on the script and almost started laughing. So excited.